Welcome to the Soma podcast. We are a family of churches across North America and the world working towards gospel saturation, where every man, woman, and child will have a daily encounter with Jesus through his people, the church. We are passionate about connecting, equipping, and mobilizing disciple makers to live out the gospel in community on the mission of Jesus in everyday life. Let's dive in. Welcome to the third episode of the Soma Story series. Today, I sit down with Jeff Vanderstelt to look at some difficult years within Soma. This includes some relational fallout, leadership struggles, and ultimately the untimely death of our dear friend, Randy Sheets. This episode does deal with some sensitive topics, including mental health and suicide. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, I'm just going to state the obvious. We lost Paul.
Yes. It's just you and I
It's
now.
just you and me.
The numbers are thinning.
But what's nice
Sometimes that's what happens in church plants. You just lose one after another.
We call that attrition.
Or pruning.
Yeah, he's just been pruned. Paul has been pruned.
He'll be back at another future episode.
But
Yes.
this also, we're getting to the point where I start to enter into the story a little bit.
Yeah.
My physical presence does. And we're getting to the part of like Tacoma and the downtown building and the losing of it. And then
Yeah.
like your role in passing a baton and all that. So I want to back up for a second. There's a downtown building. Tacoma was meeting in it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal gatherings.
Incredible.
Like, I think, so tell me about the gatherings within Soma, what the downtown building was, how that
Yeah.
played a part in the ethos. Because I think that's lost on people when they hear so much about missional community life.
Yeah.
And then the loss of that and what that did to that to Tacoma.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking when I was driving here today to meet with you and record, I was thinking through so many elements of what made us who we were that we don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So like this huge influx of artists.
Yep.
I mean, we were as rich as I've ever been in terms of a church full of artists
Mm-hmm.
and incredible talent, like off the charts. Like these are world-class level,
Yeah.
and some of them are still recording and,
Mm-hmm.
One's in LA and another did work all through New York. And so we attracted these incredible artists. So our music was really remarkable. I mean, recording level, these guys, all of them could get it. Some of them did get recording contracts,
Yeah.
right? That good. So we had that, but we never really like boasted in it. It was like this humble, and not because we were super humble. I just don't think that we never wanted to get full of ourselves around that. And both Caesar and I was at Willow. He was at, he used to have his own, he worked in Nashville. He had his own label.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like
He was a producer at
Yeah, he
one
was a
point.
producer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, we weren't like enamored, but we were also unbelievably blessed,
Mm-hmm.
which meant our gatherings were so rich. And it wasn't just musical art. We had visual art. So we had incredible dance, a couple people that did dance and and it was beautiful. Like Rachel's, I don't know if you ever met her, but she was a part of it. Hans' work, we would have sometimes we would actually do teaching with art,
Yeah.
or someone would paint while we're teaching. I mean, there's just so many elements that we had. And we had, I'd say probably some world-class communicators too. I mean, Caesar's a great communicator. Abe became a good preacher.
Yep.
I think he wasn't really great at the beginning and became great. I mean, I think he's one of my favorite preachers now. But he got developed. We became a development place for people to preach. At one point, our teaching team was probably like 10 of us.
Yeah.
And so you had that. You had this the space itself,
Which matters for humans.
yes,
Like
we're spatial creatures. And
yeah.
we take in the world around us artistically and experientially, and the building was amazing. I mean, it wasn't amazing in the sense that it didn't cost a lot of money to make it look like it did, but it was rustic.
Yeah. To describe it was just this big warehouse.
Big warehouse, yeah.
It wasn't like not this cathedral-looking building,
No.
just big warehouse, but couches throughout for people to sit on, which was super intentional, familial-wise.
Yeah,
Like
tables, chairs. You could pick your kind of how you wanted to sit, where you wanted to sit. It was kind of in a half round, so it felt real communal. The stage was hardly a stage. It was just enough to get short people like me up above everybody's heads so they could see
Plus
me.
a stool.
But it wasn't like a lofty thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we had everybody like on video or anything like that. It was really stripped down for the most part. Even our music, though well produced, was not like flashy, not tons of lights and none of that stuff. It just felt like a living room that was big enough for hundreds of people.
Yes. It's a great way to describe it.
And it's just
Dialogical teaching.
Teaching, so always interacting with the body. We let the body speak into the message, not just us talking the monologue in a monologue the whole time. We broke bread together. Like we had missionaries go together to the table and take communion. Like I said earlier, we had a meal together, and I don't know if we were still doing that when you came. Yeah. So that was a big part of who we were. Try to do testimonies a lot or stories. It just was really remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's still my favorite church gathered experience that I've ever had.
It was a natural outflow of all the things that we've been talking about up to this point.
It was, yeah.
It didn't feel disconnected. It felt very connected.
It wasn't manufactured. It was coming out of the essence of who we really were.
And the space just was, I know there was 6th Ave building. There was other spots around, but that downtown was kind of
it was incredible.
The cornerstone foundation of what allowed for the different expressions to come together as well.
It did, yeah.
And so it played a factor.
Oh, yeah, we did a lot of Soma schools there. Mm-hmm. So people could get a sense of being in a downtown experience, because that was the other thing. It was very rustic, gritty. Tacoma was very gritty, and and the building felt like it fit. Yeah. It's like the city,
Yeah.
So that was really rich. And every time we were talking about this in our little break, people would say like, Soma's not really into gatherings.
It's one of the best gatherings in the area.
Yeah, it's actually one of the best gatherings I've ever been a part of. I mean, some incredible preaching, music, everything was remarkable. And so that's just not true. And then sadly we lost a lot of that. You know? And I could feel there was, and I won't get into a lot of detail, but there was a few key moments where we lost people. Some of it I already described in terms of leadership, pain, but also we stood up for something that we needed to stand up for in our city, and a bunch of artists left, which was really painful because we love them so much, and so it felt like part of our body was being ripped out. Really sad. And so we went through that, and then Aaron Spyro, who is an incredibly gifted musician, he refused to do a particular thing. They wanted to do he was like on a music tour all the time in the city, and he also wanted to be a part of like an art installation where they had traveling artists, and they would put it in your house, and then you'd do a musical show so you could see both visual art and musical. It's beautiful. He did several of them, and there was a particular art showing that he, with his own convictions, he and his wife did not feel like they could put that up in their house. And so they just said, sorry, we can't. And he got really, really blacklisted, basically. And people said, we're not going to work with you anymore. And he paid a huge price for his integrity.
Wow.
So that hurt him, and it hurt a lot of the artists, and so that happened. But then we also lost the downtown building. Tacoma was really, really liberal in the early days. They just wanted people downtown meeting in spaces, and then they started changing how they handled code. And we were kind of buying our time trying to get to a place where we could pay for a lot of the updates that need to be done. And they just said no and let us know like a week up before we were going to meet. You can't meet there anymore. Super painful.
Totally.
And you don't pay attention to how much space does affect you. Like, I think you're foolish if you think space doesn't matter. It does matter. Yeah. Especially when you build an ethos around a kind of experience together. And then you lose it. It was a big loss. And we ended up in gracious church in the city that I'd built a relationship with, let us use their gym space. But going from what we were to sitting in bleachers in a gym that has zero aesthetic beauty was a massive shift culturally for us. And then they gave us a room off from that, and they were so gracious, but that hurt us a lot. And then we went to an afternoon gathering at 4, and that was like a jugular. That was like cutting the biggest artery. I think we lost hundreds of people when that happened. It's just a super hard time for families to be there with little kids, and So there's a lot that changed who we were, and we lost a lot of people in those few years, including the fallout that I already described when we had some leadership challenges.
Yeah.
So those are tough years, man.
Yeah.
You probably came around then, right? Or
Well,
we were downtown when you first came, right? You were
yeah. So that was my time in Tacoma, was through all that.
you experienced all that.
Yeah. So from going from downtown to gym to 4 p.m. to Lincoln, those were the 2 years that I was in Tacoma with our residency.
2012 was when you joined us?
So
Okay.
Darian was pregnant with Joya. She was what, 30 weeks pregnant when we moved, and then went on bed rest. And Joy was born in November of 2012. So we moved that August, September.
Did you join our missional community?
Yeah.
During the time when it was the worst experience of a missional community.
I wasn't going to say it. But it was like,
bad, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I started, my interactions was 2000. I think I first heard, 2009, 2010. There was a conference that the Assemblies of God that I was a part of at the time was putting on.
Oh, yeah. Up north, right?
Up north, yeah. And you had a 10-minute slot.
Yeah, I remember.
And some
Was
other.
Judah there too? Or no,
I know
East Side.
Ryan was.
Yeah, Ryan, that's right. Yeah.
We'll just leave that there. And so, so I remember I was like, oh, this is great. I was being mentored by a guy named Dan Serdal at the time.
Yes.
And so we were connecting. He invited me to that. And afterwards, he was asking, what stood out to you about that time? And I was like, that Jeff V guy, that Soma stuff. And he's like, yes. And at that point,
I had 10 minutes.
Yeah, you had
It
nothing.
was like a blip on the radar.
But it was some of the sayings that you that were birthed out of all that time. It was and I don't think I'm the only one that was having the angst around what was happening within the church, seeing our training, seeing how I was developed, and seeing the expression of the evangelical church at the time and at the moment, and then seeing something's off here, and what Paul was calling that reform movement and then hearing and that's it. That's the language. It was the ethos, the heart, the motive, the theology, all of it. And so for me, that was 2010, and I spent the next 2 years ripping everything off. So I was the guy that did not follow the copyright underneath. I think I probably gave some credit, but tried to implement that in our church. Given the assignment without the authority is how I like to say it. That usually doesn't go well, just FYI. Yeah. And so we were in this spot of wanting to plant, but the Lord was like, you're not ready to plant yet. You need to take a season of learning. And so that's when I was like, okay, what do we do here? This was 2011, early 12. And my wife, Darianne's from Fircrest, which is a nice little small suburb of Tacoma.
That's so not like Tacoma.
Yeah, it's it's beautiful.
It is beautiful, yeah.
So she was from Tacoma. We had a couple different options. Plant with the guy up in Capitol Hill, join Paul up at East Side, do something on out in the peninsula with the church, a bigger church that wanted to do this stuff. Hey, you should join us. And I was like, no, it's a season of learning. And
that's where Dan was at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, no, I think it's time to take a season of learning. So we left, and we left Federal Way with nothing. And you were on sabbatical. So when I moved when you were on sabbatical after the leadership fallout and needing to get a break.
Yes.
You didn't know I was coming.
No, I didn't.
Although I think I communicated because I thought Antioch was it had a great website.
Yeah.
I thought it
looked amazing.
It looked fantastic on the website. Incredible. And it was good. The learning was awesome.
Yeah.
But
the content was great.
Yeah. And so we moved there on just off North 12th and Oaks in Tacoma, right across from Grant Elementary. And
that was our mission field.
Up on the top floor of a old Tacoma house that was a dump that we had 800 square feet of. And so what Judah at the time was 4. No, I had a 3-year-old and a pregnant wife, no money, no job, no money. And we moved in.
I remember that.
And we just showed up. It's okay, we're here to learn. we're going to plant a church. What do we got to do? So we're still at the downtown building.
Yeah.
Our first interaction, we went out to, what was the place that did peanut butter and jelly and blue cheese? Why can't I think of it? Anyway, it'll come to me. And yeah, I remember you asking me a question.
I know the place. Gosh.
Yeah, but it's on the tip of our tongue.
Yep.
All of our Tacoma friends are hearing like,
Yep.
I remember you saying, are you more concerned about the diploma or are you more concerned about the mission? Because Antioch had the diploma, the master's part of it.
Yep.
And I was like, it's the mission. It's like, okay, you're the right guy. I don't know if you didn't say that. That's what I heard. And so that's when I started joining your MC. And when I joined your MC, I remember this really clear because I still do this to this day. It's like, hey, just so you know, like you're coming into our world. These are our friends. Like you're not going to share. You're coming to learn and listen.
Mm-hmm.
So ask questions. Yep. And
because I had gotten burned by people.
I'm sure that was what I remember. Even at the time, I was like, "This is a story. Oh, this is somebody that's had it go wrong."
Yes.
And Janie show up, and Janie was Wonder Woman.
Yes. Was she literally dressed up as Wonder Woman? Was it Halloween or something?
Yeah, it was the Halloween thing. Clay was there, Nikki was there, all who became our dear friends.
Amazing.
Joined at that moment and got to know them.
So you got to have there was some of that missional community was still pretty good, but
totally.
We went through a season where it started
right after that.
Yep, that's right. I remember.
Yeah, so missional community. So this was just a hard season.
Yeah, for us,
for you, because I mean, the calling wrestling of are you a city? Like, what city are you supposed to be in? Yeah. I didn't know that at the time, but it sounds that's part of it.
Yep, that was the
missional community frustrations, leadership, losing of the building. There's just a whole lot of.
It was a hard
with
season.
it. And how did that impact what was being birthed nationally with the family of churches? Like, if you look back at that time, because it was already happening, but it wasn't like formalized yet. Like, how do you? I know this is a Tacoma part of the story, but it really does like start showing up more and how things start happening nationally.
Well, I do think we started to make a shift towards it can't be all about Tacoma.
Yeah. I remember.
And I think there was also even an internal leadership push to say, can we stop trying to serve everybody from Tacoma? And I remember we even used language like, feels like we're cannibalizing a local church for a much larger mission.
Totally.
And we wrestled with that because we're like, yeah, but I mean, Jesus suffered and died so that we could live. I mean, Jerusalem experienced persecution so the world could hear.
Yeah.
Most of the churches, well, none of the churches that were around then are here anymore. Like Ephesus, all these churches are gone. Like, and we were like, is a church supposed to be around forever? I remember we even had that conversation. Like, is the job of a church is to stay or is it to go? I remember we even had a very definitive moment where we said, what if there is no Soma Tacoma someday and God wanted to use this to birth something bigger than we could have imagined? And so we have wrestled with that. Those were real conversations we had because we said, if that's so, then we're willing to give away and we're also willing to not make this the center.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a big shift in that around that time.
Okay.
You discerned that rightly. Yeah. And we started to then like entrust others, give more away, even send people away. That's where, the LA work started to happen. Missio Dei developed a ton. They got a lot more authority. And I'd even say like granted favor in the Soma family to create and to shape and to not let it just be Tacoma based. I think Australia got more. And it was in those seasons where I think it really started to take off more and more.
Yeah.
I think we got a lot more Texas contingency. At one point, Texas had a huge, like Fort Worth, Dallas, and Austin all had pretty remarkable expressions and probably could have easily overshadowed everything Tacoma ever did.
Yeah.
Now, they created their own, like Redeemer in Red Rock. They created their own family of churches, and that all happened, and that was great. It started to birth new things.
Yeah.
So I would say what happened is we stopped centering it in Tacoma. Now, there was a gradual evolution to that process, but I do think that started to shift.
Yeah, so influences, voices, more that are already there starting to have more.
That's right. Like even when we get together, it isn't just me speaking. And I probably and we can maybe talk about this. I
remember.
took myself out of it more than I should have at one season, and I think the family felt that the Soma family felt that, because I some of that might have been good, and some of it might have just been fear. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to make it about me.
Yeah.
But I think in so doing, I think I abdicated in some places. I think that's the tendency when you're trying to give away. And
it's such a hard balance because you don't want to be personality driven, but by God's grace, it's a person that he uses to do it.
Yeah.
And we're in a moment where we have to be aware of those things.
That's right. Yeah.
So what were some of the early like practices in this time of the family of churches at large? Because I know there was like retreats that started to happen around this time.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, in the region, we were already starting to get together.
Yeah.
Like Paul was talking about with the Soma East Side, the Renton Expression, Federal Way eventually. But that was before, that happened a little later. Was it 2014 when we sent you out?
We left Tacoma the same month that you went to
I left.
So
January 2014.
Yeah, but I mean, at the point that I remember, there was like coaching calls that you were having with other Soma leaders around, but there were retreats that were happening.
Yeah, we were doing.
Not even in the region, but in like national, like Vail. I mean, I only know,
right.
I've heard of these. They're like, there were some practices that were starting to bring this thing of different churches into not just the same idea being lived out in different contexts, but like international co-laboring.
Yeah,
together.
what happened was originally because we were so connected to 829 and I was vice president at one point of Acts 29, we just doubled up. So when Acts 29 would have their yearly gathering of all their Acts 29 churches, we would do a Soma thing on the front or back end of that.
Okay.
So we'd tag on it.
Yeah.
And most of our churches were Acts 29 at that stage. But then as we gathered more and more that weren't, we would just say, hey, just come for the beginning or come for the end, whatever. And we just try to use the facility that's already being rented.
Okay.
So that's what we did at first. And then we started doing our own.
Yeah.
And then we eventually removed ourselves from Acts 29 formally. And we definitely did once a year retreat with all the family. And a lot of times the international community would start to gather with us too. Whether that's like Yoshi from Japan or some of our brothers and sisters in Eastern Europe or the Australian contingency, some of our Mexican family, though Atanasio couldn't come, sadly. But yeah, some of that started to happen in that season. Yeah, so that was a pretty regular rhythm. And we were developing more ongoing coaching. So a ton of coaching calls, coaching visits, and then me and others would start to travel and drop in and see things, do stuff. Soma One Days for, like in Philadelphia, a good example. Yeah. I'd do a training for Soma One Day. Rob and the regional leaders would use that to catalyze more interest. We gather more people to consider planting, and that's how we started growing in each region, was through that. So they would start to use my catalytic voice. They would use the larger body to draw on. So it wasn't always me speaking. Yeah. They started having others come out and speak.
Yeah.
You know, like Kevin Platt or others from, the other parts of the country. So
how does your time fit into all this? Tacoma, I mean, there's that tension, just knowing you and what you've set up to this point, that apostolic energy. You have Tacoma, you have the work being done in this region, you have the national stuff, the city vision piece that's connected to it. I mean, bring me into your heart and the tug for you and
it was so hard.
How to navigate that, because I don't think people get that.
Yeah, it was really hard because I felt a responsibility to our home base, Soma Tacoma, but also a responsibility to the larger family. And I'm trying to navigate those worlds. Of course, I'm also a father. I got that reality going on, which Janie and I would say I probably failed in certain ways because it's hard to navigate all those responsibilities. And I would say that probably everybody felt like they didn't get enough. Like that's the reality. And that's in my earlier years, before I did a lot of my work, I didn't know how to embrace my limitations. So I was I probably overpromised and underdelivered in a lot of cases. And then we tried to bring people in to help. I mean, we went through, there's like Nick Lopara and, John Quick and, all these different people to try and help carry weight with us. And Sam Tikas was brought in at one point from LA. And there's and I'm probably going to forget Scott was part of it, writing curriculum. And we just had, the team grew to try and carry the weight. But sadly, I and maybe a few others were a little distracted trying to do it all. So
Yeah.
I'd say that Soma Tacoma probably suffered.
Mm.
They paid a huge cost. I'll just say that. I think a lot of people don't know the cost they paid for the larger family to experience what it got.
And this is 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, this is deeply rooted.
Yep.
That.
Yep.
You're talking about not just the last year. This is a long-term.
Yeah.
Part of the conversation.
Yeah, and I want to keep honoring that part of the story because massive sacrifice took place.
Unknowingly, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, the leaders, I'm assuming the leaders were, well, I know they were part of the conversation, the affirmation, the yes,
I
no,
didn't do any of this without their permission or even
and I think that's a
full
huge,
affirmation.
like that's shared leadership in a picture.
Yeah.
Like when you're getting these international opportunities, you're going to your elders to ask them.
Yeah. And we all were doing that, whether it was Abe or Caesar or me or you name it. Like it's just we submitted to one another, and we submitted the need to one another and the opportunity to one another. And I felt like we did as best as we could to listen to the Lord. And we would fast and pray over major decisions together, and we never made a decision that wasn't plural. Like every major decision, we waited until we got complete consensus.
Yeah,
which a lot of people go like, "Yeah, that's impossible," but we just did it.
Yeah.
Fast and pray until we all heard from the Lord, and we wouldn't move forward until we did. So that's the part and even as I tell the story, I'm like,
yes, but
yes, I'm like, okay, Lord, we thought we heard, and we did it in submission to one another, and it cost a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know in some ways if we should be surprised by that because that is the nature of the kingdom.
Yeah, the outcome isn't automatically going to be good just because he led you to it.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, if it cost him his life, we shouldn't be surprised if it's going to cost us
something.
Yeah.
So in this time also is when the idea of Saturate starts bubbling up, because you were talking about the draw elsewhere, the needs elsewhere, the difficulty of it local. Because at this point, all the national leaders are mostly at Tacoma, and there's a dual role even within this elder team.
Yeah.
So bring people into what Saturate was initially and how that came about.
Yeah, so as Soma was serving the church, not just Soma.
Yeah.
But I want to make that really clear. They were serving the Big C church all over the world and giving everything away for free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, resources, training, come live with us, we'll pour into you. Like it was incredibly generous, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I look back on it. And we just got to a place where like we can't sustain this.
Yeah.
No one local church can sustain this. And even though we were adding more people serving around the country that were part of Soma, it was hurting their local church.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a part where we're like, okay, now we think we're discerning the Lord's going enough.
Yeah.
You've got to create a means by which you can still serve the larger church, but still care for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we began to think about starting Saturate as a nonprofit that would exist to still see the city vision supported and encouraged, like a collaborative work in a city for the sake of gospel saturation, but would start to get funded and even resourced by others, not just Soma.
Mm-hmm.
So like we don't have the corner on the market. We've got a part of that, but let's bring other voices in. Let's bring more resources to the table. Let's see if people will fund it, even if they aren't from Soma. Like that's what started to happen. And so, I mean, there were a lot of gospel patrons who gave money, and churches around the Puget Sound, around Washington, around the country that supported the beginning of Saturate, and even individual donors.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we had one donor from Ohio who gave us enough for our first 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
You know? And God just really provided for us to get that started.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, and I don't know if you want me to go into this now, but that coincided, us launching Saturate was planned to launch in March of 2015.
Yeah.
And the fall of 2014, Mars Hill blows up, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
That's when everything
implodes.
It implodes.
Yeah.
And I get the call from the one of the executive elders, letting me know it's going to be announced that they're going to close, that they're going to dissolve Mars Hill at the end of 2014, and they're going to release all of the campuses to be their own churches if they have the means and the leadership. And he said the problem is the Bellevue campus, which was at that point their main central preaching campus where Mark preached live, Mark Driscoll. They didn't have leadership for that. And that was kind of the center of the explosion. It's where the 12 of the 15 elders kind of signed the agreement that we're out of here, tried to stand up to Mark, and they left. So there was just 3 left. And they were exhausted, because it was the epicenter of all the hits. And so they said, would you come in and start a new church out of it? And I told Janie about it, and she's like, hell no. And, she was really hurt. She was really hurt by
all the
leaders there. We were really hurt. I mean, we were really hurt by Mars Hill and by Mars Hill leadership. So she's like, why would I ever want to be a part of that? I don't want anything to do with those people. And the Lord softened her heart and said, okay, those people are God's people. They're still part of the body of Christ. They've been deeply hurt. Their leader left. They've been abandoned. Their leaders left, not just one, all of them, except for 3, And so we said, we can't just say no. We have to submit that to the Lord. And we brought that to our elders and said, we don't know what we're supposed to do, and we don't make decisions by ourselves. That's just not how we do things. So what do you think we should do? And they said, we think we should, as elder couples, basically fast and pray for a month and see what the Lord says. So we all committed to that. And I remember saying, guys, you don't enter into a process of discernment with your preferred decision in your hand.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you literally have to let it go and say whatever he wants is what we want.
That's part of the discernment process.
That's part of it. You
can't to name your preferences.
Absolutely.
Just so that you can offer them to the Lord as saying, I want this, but not my will, but your will.
That's right. And that's what they did, to their credit. And because I don't think nobody really wanted me to go.
Yeah.
It's not like they hated me and couldn't wait for me to leave,
you weren't trying to enter into that environment,
to be clear,
and no one wanted you.
Yeah, and I don't know that I really wanted to go, if I'm honest. Like, I mean, what we had in Tacoma was like otherworldly, frankly. I mean, it's still my favorite years of all my ministry life, because it was just special. And so we just submitted it to the Lord. We prayed. We got dreams. We got words. It was just unavoidable.
Yeah.
And I remember the elders, we got back together and they said, well, we think the Lord's saying yes, but they had like 30 some questions or pushbacks. I mean, it was a lot. It was a long list, So we're like, okay, well, let's work through them. And we worked through most of them, but they said a lot of them we can't work through unless we're with their elders to talk through it. So we met with their elders. I should back up. Before we did that, we also met with about 60 or 70 leaders from Soma Tacoma. Were you in the room for that meeting?
Yeah.
Haley was in that room too. She'll never forget, because she was like seeing us submit ourselves to a large body of leaders and realizing it's going to change her life.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Big part of our story.
Yeah, we were in that courtroom. And
Yep.
And I mean, you were there. So like almost to a person was like, well, you trained us.
Well, and the point of that was to extend the decision-making beyond the elders. This is what the elders are sensing, but now we're going to bring our core leaders into this and saying, would you discern with us? This is what we're hearing. This is what we're sensing. Right. What are you hearing? What are you sensing?
That's right.
I remember key leaders all like just standing up and affirming.
I know. It was crazy.
It was not a decision in a room by yourselves.
No, it was not. No, and a lot of people spoke into that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And including the elders from Bellevue, Mars Hill. And I remember when we met with them, and I might have got the order wrong. I think it was our elders and their elders and the 60 or whatever leaders we had.
Too.
And I remember Janie, and it's just 3 guys. 2 of them were in the room. One was on a video or like Zoom or something.
There's no Zoom back in the day.
No,
it was probably Skype, but
I think it was probably Skype.
Just to give you what era this was. This was pre-Zoom.
2014. That's right. That's crazy. And Janie, our elders asked some questions. They're like, "Do you realize who Jeff is? He's like so different than Mark Driscoll. He's going to lead this in such a different way. He's going to create a shared leadership. He's going to push you towards mission." I mean, they tried to warn them about who they were getting, right? And they're like, we want it. We're for it. We don't want to prop up one guy, all these kinds of things. And then Janie just goes, "You hurt us. And I'm not going to trust you until I know that you know what you did to us." I mean, if you've ever been with Janie, on the other side of Janie, when she gets like that prophetic, it's like you feel it.
There's some intensity there.
Some intensity. And she's like, you sinned against us. And she started listing all, and and I won't do it here because we don't need to, but there was a long list of things that were done to both her and I, but also to our church. And man, those guys, tears in their eyes, just, I mean, deeply broken, and just said, we are so sorry. We know. We got dreams wrong, and we hurt you deeply, and we would ask that you'd forgive us. And it was so healing. And I remember we got done, and we walked out of the room, and Jenny goes, we're going.
Begrudgingly even. She's like, dang.
She goes, now I know.
Yeah. Her fleece has been covered. It's time to go.
It's like, oh, man. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And so, we knew at that point that we were going to go. And so I told him, I don't want to be paid by Mars Hill. So until it's another entity, please don't pay me for my work. Because we had to do bylaws and hiring, and I had to get everything ready to launch a new church, quote unquote, in January 2015. So in November, December, I pretty much just worked for free and just tried to get things in order. And then formally I took on the position in January 1st, 2015. Replanted a church called Doxa. Moved our family up in June because I wanted my kids to be able to finish school. Super sad, lonely, honestly, because we didn't have any friends. We were leaving our best friends, and including my kids as well. They're best friends. They're all their peers. It's super sad.
Well, I mean, when you truly live on mission with people, and you're making disciples, and you're working alongside one another, and wrestling with things, and praying and fasting, like the depths of relationship is profound.
It's profound.
And to be sent away from that, I mean, we haven't even talked about the beauty and the grieving of sentness.
I know.
Because there's a beauty to it. Like, yes, something new's getting started, but there's also a deep sadness.
Oh, yeah.
And you experienced it right there.
Absolutely. In fact, you and I now talk a lot when we're helping people start new missional communities. We say, you've got to grieve. Because it's a real loss. And if you don't, people's hearts will be hardened, and they won't want to do it ever again. But if they mourn, they'll be comforted. If they receive comfort, they'll get courage, because they'll experience healing, and they'll want to do it again. But if you don't get that, you're never going to want to do it again.
Yeah, it's almost as an indicator of somebody that doesn't want to continue doing the sending work, that they haven't done the grieving work.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and people still, and we probably will get to this more, but people still ask me, like, how are you still in this?
Yeah.
Because we've been through a lot, and we haven't even talked about all of it yet. And I just say, I mean, one, it's because of Jesus and His grace, and I really love Him, and I love the church. And I don't hold Him accountable for our sin, even though He took account for it. But He didn't do it. So it's not His fault. But then also, I think it is learning to grieve. It is a lot of the emotional work that I've been doing that allowed me to be healed from the pain, so that I can keep moving forward. And I think that's something a lot of our leaders need to practice. Because when we talk about how many get burnt out, or, you even said, like, missional community leaders, they're on it for a while and then they're done. And it's like, I think that's a lack of self-care in terms of like silence, solitude, Sabbath, soul care, paying attention to your attachment to the Lord, and how much you're putting on Him that wasn't Him, but it's somebody else,
Well, we'll get to the COVID years really revealed a lot of, well, even before that, I would say, that there was an assumption in the missional movement of spiritual practices and disciplines. There was an assumption that, like, oh, we've been doing all these quiet times, quote unquote, now we need to get to work. And the unintentional consequence was, and I've seen this in different ways, where you start to emphasize one thing instead of emphasize another. People perceive you to say what you're leaving behind no longer matters. And all you want us to do is this. And so it's like, it's not mission or meeting with Jesus. It's when you're living on mission, you realize your need for meeting with Jesus. But the assumption was, oh, we're just going to disciple people in this without some of the practices that right now are being revitalized again. But the grieving portion of it, the need from Jesus, all that, is just all happening here.
It is, yeah. And I mean, as you were saying that, I was thinking through like one of the things Soma Tacoma had to do, and I think it did reverberate throughout the family, was recognize that we hadn't been helping people abide.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted them to abound in the work of the Lord, but we didn't teach them how to abide well. And there were assumptions made, you know, and so, and I found that at Doxa too.
Yep.
The first year we spent mainly just trying to bring healing, but then I was like, okay, we're ready, let's go. And tried that for 2 or 3 years and they didn't go.
Yeah.
And I remember we had a key meeting with a group of our leaders and I just said, Jeff, I don't know if they're abiding, because if they were abiding, they would be fruitful. And we're trying to get them to produce fruit. And we don't produce fruit. That's Jesus. That's the Spirit. That's Jesus. He does that. And so we started just checking, like, do you know how to be alone with the Lord? Do you do silence? Do you do solitude? Do you know how to fast? We found out they didn't.
Yeah.
And most of them had learned how to attend gatherings and hear someone preach. And felt like that was enough. And it's like, I tell people all the time, that's what you do with infants, right? Like they receive, you chewed up the food and you gave it to them in the form of milk. Yeah. And I remember people would come to me and go, man, I love your preaching. It's like meat. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm giving it to you. It's milk. It's meat when you chew it up and then you give it away to someone else. And a lot of our people are still just drinking milk and we're not flourishing in their walk with the Lord. And so and I think this is true of a lot of our churches. So I'm kind of telling the story that isn't just about Doxa. I think it was true of a lot of our Soma churches.
Absolutely.
And I'd say true of a lot of the church, period.
For sure.
I think it's why John Mark Comer is having such interest with practicing the way and all that. It's because people are realizing we haven't really learned how to abide well. And so we took 3 years just to focus on abiding principles. We did 1 a quarter, started with solitude and silence, because we felt like that's a lot of people in this space would say that's the container for all the others. Yeah. If you can learn how to be quiet and present, then all the other ones will probably be effective. But if you don't know how to do that, then the other ones are just noise. Yeah. So we did 1 a quarter for 3 years and got through 12. Yeah.
So during these early Doxa years, like we talked about, also launching Saturate.
Yeah. So we launched that March 2015.
Yep. So all right. I mean, boom, boom, like a lot going on. There's also the Soma family of churches that's going on. Like, what's your role in the midst of that? What's the conversations about your role? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, I mean, we had to get to so let me even back up. Before I left to go to Doxa, I handed off the baton of Soma Tacoma to Randy Sheets.
Yes.
I really failed in that process, and that, like, Abe Meisenberg, who's a very key leader, was on sabbatical when we made the decision. Yeah. So we violated one of our rules, which is we don't make major decisions apart from a collective consensus, and we left a key guy out of the process.
And this is 2013 now.
2013, if I back up.
So we're going a little bit further.
So I handed it off before I left, and I was still there a year while he was leaving.
But you're not, Tacoma has been handed off before you even left, because you were doing the national launching Saturate, getting that going.
Yeah, so I was still present while Randy was in the leadership, but that was a poor process. I'll just say, like, if you're gonna hand off a baton like that, you got to do way better than we did. So. And that's not on Randy, that's on me, and that's on the rest of us that were making that decision. But I think that didn't help, because it didn't set him up well. It also, I get launched out, you get launched out with some key elders.
Yes,
because that's when Federal Way is.
Yeah, Soma Federal Way was planted with 2 of the elders from Tacoma.
Plus, 2 very healthy elders.
Yeah, I mean, shepherd teacher through and through, healthy, solid. Another church planting couple, Chris and Stephanie Thomas.
Yes.
So, I mean, like...
We lost David and Amy Achada somewhere, and I can't remember which we...
Yeah, they were residents as well alongside with us.
I mean, there was a bunch of people we lost.
Yeah, Tacoma was sent out of to, like birth Saturate, replant Doxa. Yeah. But it was definitely a moment. And we also, when Federal Way was launched, there was some key, not just elders, but...
key families.
Just families that were like faithful and stable and always helping in the kids and faithful givers and all that.
It was a massive sacrifice.
Yeah, and I was not part of any of the conversations around like Jeff's going and Federal Way's going. Should something pause?
It probably would have been good for us to wait a little bit.
But it happened. Yeah, but I mean, it was just like from a Soma Tacoma perspective, it was a rush of that.
It was, yeah. They saw a mass exodus of key leaders, which was really, really hard. Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah.
While also the national work. And
Yeah,
you have
so
all
then
these
you
other
got
churches.
Soma's a family of churches that's being cared for. You got now Saturate's trying to care for the larger church.
Yep.
I'm living in both worlds, but I'm not really leading either one in some ways. So I've got, I think at that point Ben Joyce is maybe leading the Soma family.
Right around then, yeah.
And Duke also comes alongside to help him. I've got Ben Connolly helping with Saturate. We actually got it kind of working together. Todd Moore's a part. Like, it's a pretty robust team.
Yeah.
But we were serving both worlds at the same time.
And to be honest, it gets a little muddy here.
Yeah, it does. I still go, what happens?
Yeah, because what happens, who does what, and from a Soma planter, while this is all happening, I'm involved and I'm engaged and I'm in relationships with all of it. I start to get it. Like, the way I always describe it was Saturate has become, or was intended to become, the resourcing arm, and Soma was the R&D.
That's exactly it. And that's the language we used.
Yep. So that was the okay, we're going to keep doing the work. Saturate's going to do the equipping, and so, but Saturate's also going to be doing the equipping of Soma. So there's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
That was intended, that has all these leaders that are in both worlds.
Yeah.
Because you have the people that are on the Soma board at the time, from what I recall, were Soma pastors and planters.
At the beginning. Yeah.
At the beginning of that.
Yeah.
So you have the Jared Pickneys, the Kevin Platts, the key leaders that I don't know if they were all, but that's my memory.
Those are some of the people.
But then you also have the Saturate team, yourself, Ben, who's also there's a blurring
Todd
of
Moore,
lines.
Brad Watson,
yeah. And there's
Adam and Sonny, Hillier.
Yeah. So key leaders all very involved in all of
David
it.
Achada was a part of it.
Yeah, the coaching world, Zach at that time.
Sco, yeah.
And so there started to be this sense of because you were primarily doing Saturate work, because that's the call. Because
I was also replanting a church. That's
totally,
what's crazy.
Totally. And so there's
a church that was Marshall.
Yeah. So empty. So there's this
that's called crazy, is what
an
that
understandable not confusion, but what is going on here?
Yeah.
Because it was, and this happens with every organization. There's a fumbling your way through the first few years.
Man, yeah.
That's actually good for it, but you had a lot of overlap of that at the same time. That created some cultural pieces within the national work that started to birth itself later on.
Yeah.
You do what? What's this?
Yeah.
All that. So you were executive director of Saturate, though.
I was until I realized it couldn't be.
Yep.
Because Doxa took too much time from me. And then I handed off to Zach Scrow, who was a church planting resident with us at Doxa.
Mm-hmm.
He led it for a season until he left, which wasn't very long. Amy Lathrop stepped into that position for a season. We experienced some really major financial hits.
Yeah, difficulties.
We had to let go of 3 key staff members, which is incredibly painful. And one of them, it hurt him so bad it took us 7 years to be reconciled. Thankfully, we are reconciled now. That's Todd.
Yeah.
But it was painful, and I'm thankful we didn't give up.
Yeah.
And we pray for each other now, and he's a dear brother.
Yeah.
But that was hard.
But that's not to lose that. Todd, who started Soma School, who was deeply embedded in Tacoma, missionary, just to remind everybody of that,
massive impact.
That was a big pivotal moment.
Huge.
Of that. But to see now, 7 years later, hear reconciliation is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it had an impact.
Yeah, it
was hard.
It was very painful.
Mm-hmm.
And, and Duke then stepped kind of into the middle of all that.
Yeah.
And tried to straddle the fence of leading Soma and Saturate at the same time.
Yeah.
And all along I'm working in a church culture that was nothing like Soma.
Yeah.
So that also created confusion, because I think within the Soma family, I think people are like, wait a minute, does Jeff not believe in this anymore?
Yeah.
Because he went to something that's so different.
Yeah.
I remember even Alan Hirsch called me up, and I won't use his language, but He's
It's
like,
more
"What-
loud in Australia.
What are you thinking?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "You've lost your mind, and no
Yeah.
one's going to trust you ever again because they're going to think you never believed in all
Yeah.
this." And then I share with him the process we went through and how the
Mhm.
Lord spoke, and he's like, "Okay, I can't argue with that."
Yeah.
But it did breed question. It did
Yeah.
breed doubt. Like, do you really believe in this? Because why would you go to something so radically different?
Yeah.
And for me, this is about the body of Christ in
Yeah.
Puget Sound. This is about believers that need a shepherd. They need somebody who has experience
Yeah.
walking into very broken situations, which I have. They needed someone with a lot of years of wisdom,
Yeah.
and who could still preach to a large room. That's a hard person to find.
I don't think people around the country recognize the impact of all the churches in the Puget Sound area
They don't.
at the implosion of Mars.
It was massive.
Like, it was not just and I can't speak to other situations of other key leaders in areas where there's something like that happens. So I can't, but
Yeah.
I'll speak to that one because the amount of people that we were downstream because Mars Hill had a campus where we planted.
Yeah.
So there was a tremendous reverberating impact
Yes.
from that, and you were at ground zero.
Yes. I don't know if we'll ever understand fully the impact. I will say it had
Yeah.
easy thousands of lives were impacted,
Yeah.
if not tens of thousands
Yes.
of lives. And the negative view of the gospel
Mhm.
grew here and of the church. Like
Yeah.
the number of people who wanted nothing to do with the church and nothing
Yeah.
to do with quote unquote the version of Jesus that they heard about
Yeah.
grew like crazy.
Mhm.
And
Discontent.
oh,
The fuel to the fodder.
so much damage.
Yeah.
So much damage. And
So I say all that, one, for people listening, like that was a big deal, but you entered right into the thick of it.
oh man. Yeah.
Like trying and navigating these different orgs.
Yeah.
So bring me into like the leadership of all these organizations working together. At what point were you no longer leading Soma at a national level?
I probably stopped leading Soma at a national level as soon as I was planting Doxa. Yeah.
Just no capacity.
Like, there's no way I could. Yeah. And I mean, Ben Joyce was doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and then Duke started to do
Yeah.
it. So it's been at least 10 or 11 years.
Yeah.
since
And I think that's lost on people.
Yeah.
Now, hearing the Doxa part, the saturate part, it starts to
Yeah.
being close. I understood all that,
Yeah.
but I think there was some like, what's Jeff's doing here? Like,
Yeah.
is he doing these things? But like, Doxa was a significant effort.
It took so much. And, I was still on the board, so
Mhm.
I was still like aware.
Yeah.
But not that involved.
Giving voice to, but
Yeah.
not
Right.
moving.
And I tried to still speak at the national when we get together once a year.
Yeah.
And if they asked for help on a certain thing, I would provide it.
Yeah.
I would, if a church called and needs something, if I could, I would try to help. I try to leverage some of even Doxa's resources to
Yeah.
help churches, which
Yep.
we did. Whether that's like my staff that were specialized and gifted in certain areas or whatever, we did that. So, I mean, even using our technology at times to record
Yeah.
stuff for Soma or Saturate.
Yeah.
So that happened. But yeah, I couldn't even maintain the Saturate for very long.
Yeah.
That leadership, and that lasted probably only about 2 or 3 years into Doxa, and then my elders, even though, so if we back up, part of the conversation the Soma Tacoma elders had with the Bellevue Mars Hill elders was, Jeff is called to apostolic work. We know that he can't stop. Like that's what he's called to do.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we don't care. We're great with that. And one of the guys goes, if all he does is show up on Sunday and preach and that's all he does, we're happy.
Hmm.
I'm like, no, that's what you used to have.
Yeah, that's not.
Because that's what they said. They
You
said
may say you want that, but you don't need
because
that.
they said that's what basically we were getting at the end
Yeah.
with Mark was he would show up and go into the green room, get on preach and go home.
Hmm.
And they just didn't see him in the mix of everyday life anymore. And they're like, if you can do more than that, like day a week. And I'm like, no, that's not how you lead a church.
Yeah.
So we agreed to 3 days a week for Doxa, 2 days a week for Soma Saturate.
Yeah.
That only lasted a couple years.
Mhm.
And then the elders that agreed to that were gone because they all were burnt out.
Yeah.
And the only elders that we had left were from Redmond campus that joined us.
Mm.
And then we had appointed a few others. And they just said, we didn't agree to that.
Yeah.
We're going to pull that off the table. We want you here
Mm.
100%. So then I submitted to them. If I look back, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I think it wasn't actually good for them either.
Yeah.
Because when you take me out of who I'm called to be, you actually get a lesser version of me.
Yeah.
So 3 days a week out of me that also is still at 2 days apostolic is like a full-time Jeff.
Yeah.
But when you take away the apostolic and you give me 5 days, it's like less than 3 days.
Yeah.
Because my energy level changes, like my passion, it's just who I am.
Yeah.
So I probably don't think they realized they were going to get less of me by asking for more of me staying put. And now I know that.
And that's, I see that for sure.
I mean, my energy is high when I'm living into my calling.
Yeah.
And high for the local. Like I love the local. I love the church. It doesn't take me much to lead at the local. I've discovered that. So that was a miss. And I didn't have enough emotional health at that point to understand how to stand up for me and have voice. So I caved, honestly. And that hurt us and it hurt them that I didn't stand strong on my convictions.
Yeah.
But I did it for a while. Saturate the Sound got birthed out of it because my apostolic energy still found a way.
It's going to weasel its way out somewhere.
Come out of you some way or another. But I really stopped giving to both orgs, Soma and Saturate. And I think they both got good, but they also lost.
Yeah. I mean, talk about limitations.
Yeah. Yeah. It was way beyond what I could do, honestly. And so, I mean, I really had to finally like almost turn over Saturate, and let it just kind of be. And that was so painful because I was just starting to watch a thing that I believed in just fall apart.
Yeah.
And I felt like some of that was happening with Soma too. I think the cost to Soma was significant because not only was I and many others, distracted, and by a good thing, but it also, like DOTS itself required a lot of help from Soma. Yeah. I mean, Duke was flying up all the time to help us. Other local leaders like Paul Dean, and there's a whole bunch of people don't realize Soma poured a ton into that church. And a lot of that church doesn't even know. Yeah. Right. And I'm not trying to be like, woe is us. I'm just saying the cost was significant. And
there are things that happen that people just will never be aware of that it created the impact that they're feeling.
Yeah. And I've had many days where I'm like, did we make the wrong call? And every time Janie and I process it, we're like, we heard, we listened, we prayed, we fasted. Yeah. It just cost us way more than we ever thought it would.
Yeah.
Including one of my best friend's lives.
Which we'll get to in a moment for sure.
And I don't blame that on Doxa, but it certainly had an impact, which when we talk about that. But so all that's happening. I launched my first book comes out, Saturate and the Saturate nonprofit. Yeah. Then Gospel Fluency comes out a couple of years later. So
this is also around the time when we started Strong Leader Initiatives.
That's right.
So
with Rich and Jim.
Rich and Jim, Crosspoint Ministries. So you and I were part of one of the initial ones here in this area. And that really marks a moment, at least in my story, but it feels like the national work more so than I think people realize. Yeah. When Duke really did a great job of instigating that and pursuing that and getting that going.
That was so helpful.
And so talk about what that was a little bit. But
it was a 2-year journey. Didn't we do like once every quarter we'd go away?
It was three times a year.
That's right, because we didn't do summer. So fall, winter, spring. A couple days away. I think we regularly went out to Gold Bar, to a house out there. Yeah. Though I think a couple times we went other places. But it was really good. We did it with several couples from the churches in the Northwest. I think what was strong about them is they gave us new framework and language for caring for the soul.
Yeah, and the intention of the whole cohort was the recognition of the need to care for leaders' hearts.
That's right. Yeah.
It wasn't
those guys are amazing.
Yeah,
the Relational Soul book is incredible.
Oh, it's the textbook.
Yeah, it's so
for sure.
I do think, and Duke and I processed through this, Abe as well, it gave us framework, it gave us concepts, it gave us language. It helped us at least get started on the journey.
Yes, 100%.
But I don't think it forced us to do as much of the work personally as we needed.
Agree.
So, and I think that's the next chapter. Yeah. Honestly, is when we got another installment, like a new version of what we needed.
Yeah, but that started because it was a couple cohorts across the country. I think 2 or 3.
There were 3, I believe.
And people were starting to, now in the language, hit their wall.
Yeah.
Like some hadn't yet, but it was like, this is all pre-COVID. This things that
Yep.
early on in our plant story, early on in your plant story,
Yeah.
and we're getting these really deep conversations from all around like soul care, and it started this longer journey, catalyzed the process for many of us
Yeah.
to, like you said, give frameworks, but many of us then started to do the work.
Right. And I would say I probably hadn't hit the wall yet.
Yeah, I said we're getting to the wall.
Yeah.
None of us had hit the wall, I don't think.
I think God used it, though, to prepare us to have a different
Yeah,
approach to our soul.
totally. When I started my post Strong Leader stuff with Abe, I was what instigated it for me. So I'm sitting there with my elders, and we're processing through. I asked them to give me a review, and they're reviewing, and they make this statement. They say, "Justin, we don't think that we're getting all of you." And I knew immediately, okay, I need to do my work.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant at the time.
Yeah. None of us did.
None of us did. Would I have taken the pill? I don't know.
That's right.
But I remember going to Abe and being like, hey, I know the wall's coming. Like, I read The Critical Journey.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's there. I feel
conceptually.
Yeah, I know conceptually. Like, it's gonna, when I hit it, I want to hit it as slow as I possibly can. So as much as possible.
No crash test dummy.
Yeah,
stuff.
like, because I think that's part of it. It's like, if you do some good work leading up to that, it doesn't have to be as disastrous as it.
That's right.
Now, it doesn't limit it. It doesn't make it any less painful, but like the ripple effects aren't as wide. But that started our process. What was that like? How did that time for you? Like you said, what was that journey like for you, and where did that lead you to?
Well, I would say for Janie and I, it opened up a door of new conversation around our own stories and the things that had hurt and damaged us and how it reflected in our marriage. Because then we actually scheduled just time with she and I over an extended period of time with Rich and Sally. And it was hard, but really good. I think it was the beginning for us starting to do more of our internal work and story work. So yeah, it was a beginning of a journey. I'll say that
for sure.
Yeah,
because that journey takes us up to 2019.
Yeah,
it's 2019. I mean, things start to all the stuff that we've learned up to that point, and we're in fall of 2019.
Yep.
Take me to that season, because that was, I know COVID's coming.
Yeah.
But
we didn't know that.
And we had our own BC sitting the fan before that.
Yeah.
This
is why I said earlier, there are days when I have regrets, and I have to be careful about that, right? Because regret, if you're not careful, becomes like a toxic shame, or you beat yourself up for things you couldn't control or have anything to do with. But if I'm honest, it's still there. It's still a process that I'm working through, because all along, Abe hits the wall somewhere in, I don't know if that was 17 or 18.
Along the 17 to 20 sometime time
somewhere
frame.
in there, and he'd know again. But I mean, to a point at which he was like wandering the city, and
he needed a leave of absence.
And he had to get help. Well, then you got Randy, who's young, but 3 tours of duty to Afghanistan or Iraq. PTSD's hitting him big time. Body pain is overcoming him. He's trying to get medicated from the VA, and they're trying to give him the right meds, but they're giving him a cocktail that is not helpful from what I understand now. Did a number on his brain. He was not the same person. Of course, I don't know this is happening because I'm in Bellevue, Redmond. He's in Tacoma. Sadly, he's not really reaching out and asking for help. And I found out there was a lot of other things going on that I just didn't know of. And there wasn't a large, strong elder presence in Tacoma. I mean, it was Don Crook, who was this wonderful man, but getting older and didn't have some of the capacities to be able to help like he used to. Abe left because he went to Huntsville.
That was it.
Yeah, George and Monica trying to help, as best as they could. Sheffy, they were wonderful.
Beautiful support.
Wonderful support,
not elders.
Yeah, and so you've got a guy carrying way too much. And I'm about to head out to Uzbekistan and then Japan on a trip, international trip. And he and Lisa give Janie and I a call and say, hey, can we meet with you? And like, yeah, what's up? We're not doing well. So, okay, great. This is like 2 days before I'm going to leave. And they're like, can we meet with you Friday? I think it was. And I was leaving on that Friday night, on a plane to Uzbekistan via Korea. So he shows up and he's got sunglasses on inside and just can't take them off. Like light hurts him so much. And I've never seen anybody in that state. It was horrible, honestly. And he's just saying, I'm a monster. My dad, and if you know much of the story, his dad beat him like crazy as a kid. All the memories are coming back from the war, which, he resurfaced the memories. And when he resurfaced the memories, he started to see images of the things he did in war, and he just couldn't live with himself anymore. And he, confided with us that he had some thoughts about not wanting to be around anymore. And we said, hey, that sounds like suicidal thoughts. That's not okay. He's like, I don't want you to check me in. And we're like, okay, but you need to be on 24/7 watch till I get back. And I'm thinking, okay, I hope, I didn't have a clue how bad it was. But we prayed with him. I did all the work I would normally do to speak life over him, speak the gospel over him, remind him he's the Son of God, dearly loved. I mean, all the things you'd expect that I would tell him.
Yeah.
We hugged, and then I left, for my flight. And they had him on 24/7 watch, every day always someone with him. And the day I was going to fly home, I'm in the airport in Japan, and I get this text. I think it was from Abe. I'm so sorry about the news. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, has Janie called you yet? And I'm like, no. He's like, you better call Janie. So I called Janie, and she's like, do you have Adam with you? Adam flew on this trip with me, Adam Hillier. And I said, why? And she said, you just need to have him next to you. And so I said, all right. Turned out there was that morning, the guy who was going to be with him said, I'm going to be a little late. Don't leave the house, stay with Lisa. And they both said, oh, he's doing great, having a great morning, nothing to worry about. Went to the office and hung himself. And Janie shared that with me. And she, of course, was one of the first people that they called. And she was there at the house with the kids, talking to me about it, telling me what happened. And I just collapsed.
Yeah.
I in agony screamed. Like, I've never had a guttural cry of pain like that my entire life. And just a mess on the floor in the middle of an airport. And if you're in Japan, you do that, that's like really bad, because, it's a shame on our culture.
Yeah.
You don't blow up in front of people. But I literally I was in shock, and Adam got me to the Delta Lounge. He just said, just take it easy, do whatever you got to do, and we'll get you on the plane. And the whole time I'm just flying home like absolutely a mess. And definitely had a bourbon or two. Just like, I got to go to sleep. It was horrible. And yeah, I got home to that, and still the worst moment of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm, before I wouldn't have been able to make it through it. I've done a lot of work, and it doesn't mean it doesn't affect me. It's just, I've grieved a lot.
Yeah.
And for those, most know, but Randy was my best friend.
Yeah.
And in every way, like a Timothy in the face to me. So, it's just one of the greatest losses of my life. Yeah. So, it was just horrible. And we walked, then you have to walk others through it, right? You don't just get to care for yourself. You've got church you got to step in and come alongside of and help them grieve and be present with them. And then you've got a family of churches, because he was deeply revered and loved, because he was an amazing man. I always used to say he was like Keith Green coming back. He had that kind of essence, if any, but that, I know that dates me a little
It's
bit.
okay.
Just this deep, deep prophetic lover of Jesus and people.
Mm-hmm.
So it still doesn't make sense to me in a lot of ways. His passage that he was studying, that he was going to preach on, is for me to live as Christ and to die as gain. And I'm like, man, did the evil one twist that in his mind?
Just the amount of questions.
Oh, I have so many questions, and I don't know that I'll get those answers this side of on this side. So trust I will one day.
Yeah.
But that was it was probably the hardest season of our, definitely Soma Tacoma's existence, but maybe Soma altogether, because it affected all of us
very much.
And the church gathered well. I mean, in the region, people got around Soma Tacoma. They served them like crazy.
Yep.
They said, "Don't worry about children's ministry. We'll take care of it. Like, don't worry about preaching. We'll take care of it."
Yep.
I mean, it just was like, do whatever you got to do. And we tried to give them as much space as they needed to grieve. And it took a while. Duke was remarkable in the way he stepped in and served. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about all the people who stepped in and cared for the broken here.
And all those pieces of people stepping in were a beautiful expression of the church.
It was.
Like locally here in Tacoma.
Yeah, not just Soma, lots of churches in the city here.
Helping organize that and seeing all the people and doing all that. It was
beautiful.
It was quite beautiful.
It was, yeah.
But it was out of a very tragic moment.
Oh, yeah. It's just absolutely horrific.
And the walking people through it, and like you said, it wasn't just an us grieving the sadness and us getting the news.
Yeah.
And all of us have our story. It's like those moments of like, where were you when? Like you were. Many of us remember those moments vividly.
Oh yeah.
But also like the outcome of it for the next few months.
Oh yeah.
Of stepping in and caring and supporting, but also grieving ourselves.
Yeah.
But for you, obviously because Randy was so close, there was an intensity to that for you.
Yeah. And the elders at Doxa said, take as long as you need. So there was like several weeks where I just didn't do any church work for Doxa, and I was present for myself, for my family. It was the day he took his life was Maggie's birthday.
Yeah.
So that was like huge because she was all alone. I mean, we had a family friend show up and be with her, but it took a while for that to get redeemed. God's really has redeemed that sense.
Yeah.
I mean, part of her story is how she wants to step in and potentially be a counselor, and it's a big part of his not wanting others to suffer in silence.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
It's beautiful.
And Randy loved her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I just know if he would have been of sound mind, to know that he did that on her birthday would be the worst thing he could imagine. So,
yeah.
But, Maggie knows that he wasn't sound mind when he did that. But yeah, we came around Soma Tacoma in a way that, honestly, as hard and wretched as the whole thing was, I was also very proud of the church. And not just Soma, like you said, the church in Tacoma, the number of leaders that showed up, it was remarkable. And it was a beautiful picture of the kingdom. And, it took time. And along the way, I went to a dark night of the soul. And when people would talk about that, I was like, oh, I've done that before. Yeah, those really hard days. I'm like, no, I had no idea how dark it could get. And I mean, the darkness for me was to the degree in which I began to question everything and felt in a lot of ways God so far from me. And I know he wasn't, but just the grief, the anger, all of the confusion, it was just huge, and it was darker than I'd ever experienced. And I had thoughts I'd never experienced before. I believe I was being spiritually attacked at a level I'd never felt before. Even kind of temptations I'd never faced in my life. And I won't get into all of them because it's not helpful, but I would just say, like, it was the darkest season of my life. And I desperately needed help. And our elders, I think, didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Remember Alex Gioni, he's like, he's a counselor. He's one of our elders. And he told me later, he's like, I just didn't know where to send you because I was even afraid a counselor wouldn't be able to help you. So, I mean, it was that bad, and we had the Soma family retreat in San Diego that year, and we had Jeff Schulte come and speak.
Very pivotal moment.
Key moment. And, Tin Man Ministries, and he's got his own story of his life blowing up and needing help and him getting treatment and how the Lord has used that.
Yeah.
And he spoke to us, and I had to speak that retreat too, which is still crazy.
Yeah. So to give some context, Randy took his life in November
14th, 2019.
Yep. And then 2020, this is January or February?
I think it's January.
Yeah. So January down in San Diego, we invite all of the elders and leaders of Soma Tacoma.
Yeah.
They're at this, and Jeff Schulte, leader of Tin Man, is the keynote.
Yeah, and you've got leaders from all over the country as well.
And so lots of grieving, like just as a whole, because of how Randy was loved and just the reality of it. And I mean, the Soma Tacoma connection has always been pivotal because this is where there's a birthing of everybody from that in many ways. Yeah. And Jeff comes and I think opens up our hearts in ways that most of us didn't know needed to be opened.
Yeah, it was powerful. And
it was a turning point for many people.
It was a turning point. And Alex actually looked at me when Jeff was doing his
whatever Jeff does.
And he goes, "That's who you need to meet with."
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly scared to death.
Oh, yeah.
And so I met with Jeff, and Jeff later told me that he decided he didn't want to be the guy who met with me because he wanted to be able to have like a normal friendship with me on the other side of it and didn't want that to affect it.
Yeah.
And had hoped to even do work with me, which we are work together now. But so I got a guy named Robin, and in a lot of ways, Robin was ideal for me because Robin had been a church planter and in a lot of ways was kind of walking away from his faith. I don't know where Robin's at now in his journey, but in some ways I needed that. Like I needed someone who understood what I was going through and wasn't going to try and convince me to just whitewash it with good truths. Because I think in his language, he said, "Jeff, you're prone to do a spiritual bypass on your heart and avoid your heart. And we need to get your heart." And man, I met with him once a week for 14 months. Wow. And I did their full intensive, which is like 4.5 days. All day long.
We went golfing.
5 other guys.
We went golfing after that. And all I remember is we were having a great time golfing. And then I brought it out. "Hey, how'd it go?" And then you had a really bad next couple holes.
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh, dude, I think I shouldn't have asked that question."
I mean, it was
so alive still.
It was so alive.
Yeah.
But I mean, it changed me forever.
Yeah.
And like, I had no clue the work I needed to do on my own heart, my own story. I mean, I'm still doing it, frankly. Janie and I see a counselor every other week together, and sometimes I'm alone. Sometimes she's alone, depending on what we need to do. But I just had no idea how much had not been addressed in my life.
Yeah.
And I mean, it woke me up in beautiful ways. It slowed me down. It's hard to describe it now because it seems surreal, but I remember, I can't remember how far it was into my work, that it felt like, if you ever have like the RAM spinning on your computer and it's like, the fan kicks in and it's just trying to use too much memory.
Yeah.
But it's still trying and it's like running hot.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. And I had no idea how many years I'd been doing that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like the RAM, it started to slow down and the fan shut off. And everything went in real time. And it actually felt like it went to slow motion. So I literally started seeing things in slow motion. But the only reason it seemed that way is because I was in fast motion so much. And I remember just going like, what's going on here? How come everything seems so slow now? Actually, I think I just got to normal speed again.
Yeah.
I was hyper vigilant. I had no idea. My brain had been doing that since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And it was just not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And what the beautiful thing is, not only did that happen, I liken it to like the Matrix when he could slow down and avoid the bullets.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I started being in relational spaces and I was like, what's going on here? I don't have to react.
Yeah.
And it changed how I related to people. And in massive ways. I mean, if Janie were here, she would go, and I still have a lot of work to do, but she'd say she has a different husband. kids would say, very different dad. And yeah, it forever changed me. So what was so tragic has turned into unbelievable redemption, at least for me.
Yeah.
But I think it's led to a lot. I mean, I'm not the only one. Like so many people in the Soma family, whether it's through Tin Man or some other thing, are doing their work.
Yeah.
When I go speak and tell the story, for the longest time, Tin Man would call me and say, will you start telling us when you're going to do that? Because they'd get like 30 intake calls that very week. You know?
Yeah.
And these pastors and these leaders are like going, I'm not going to keep pretending anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the journey that we're still on, you know, as a family. And, you know, we've talked about this. Sometimes you can then swing the pendulum and it becomes all about that. And I think sometimes it's in Soma, people are like, is that all we're about now? And it's like, no, we're still about everything else we've been talking about.
Well, the funny thing is, well, not funny, that's a terrible word for this conversation. The ironic thing is that January we have that of 2020.
And then we hit it,
and then
COVID happens.
Yeah, and then COVID happens.
Crazy.
And so COVID, and 2020 was just a perfect storm.
Yeah.
For those of us that were really close to Randy, at least in the Northwest, like COVID for us started in 2019.
Yes.
So in many ways, COVID was the continuation.
Yeah.
But then it was the turmoil that came from the perfect storm of COVID and people's interaction, the racial reconciliation, George Floyd conversations, and then the political conversation. And so like there was like a 1, 2, 3 punch of that year. And different people had different experiences just because of where they lived in the States and all that. But you have, I mean, it's providential that retreat was then, because it gave many people at least an open eyes to that. Because one, now all these churches are dealing with not only the loss of their friend, and how do you reconcile that? Like the idea of a pastor taking his own life. Yeah. Like, it's treacherous, but then also just all the questions like, okay, everybody starts finding themselves in that story and just asking like, am I close to that? What are we doing that could lead to that? Like all these reflections that come, and then boom, you don't even get a chance to breathe,
catch your breath. Yeah.
You're right into March of 2020 and the turmoil that is that year. And so obviously that impacted everything. That impacted individuals. It impacted local churches. Everybody's scrambling, trying to figure out what life looks like. It's the hardest 2 weeks in Texas's life.
They only had to do it for 2 weeks.
I joke around.
We had 2 years.
We had 2 years, so I'm like, I'm going to own that, guys.
Oh my goodness.
And Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, but all that to say, like, you have this like turmoil.
Paid a significant toll.
Totally. And the churches that were just getting birthed, or the churches planted, or the church that weren't very strong.
Yep.
And then the division.
Didn't make it.
I mean, I'm just setting you up for like, there's so much to talk about, like that could be talked about with COVID, but like in general, that era, there was a tremendous toll on the churches. How do you describe that time, and what did you see from all of that really impacted us, that may have made us lose a little bit of who we are even?
Well, you know, it's a mixed, I have a mixed answer, because some of the churches said, well, we were already so strong at the decentralized expression of church that the gathering, not being able to gather, didn't hurt us in the way that it hurt some churches.
100%, for sure.
So that's true. I mean, I'd say that's even somewhat true for Doxa, even though they didn't fully buy into all of the missional community stuff. They did a lot. But with that said, it did create divisions in the church, you know, but that, I've never seen churches more divided on non-essentials.
Yeah.
Right? Masks. You're going to divide over that.
Yeah.
You know, vaccinations. You're going to divide over that.
Yeah.
Gathering or not gathering. And then I found myself at times, I'm sure other pastors had to do this too, but like I found myself at times needing to talk to the people who were creating the division at the highest level. Like, and I won't say names, but like national leaders who were saying things.
Instigating it.
Yeah. And then I would get a video sent to me, and I would have to then call that leader and talk to them personally instead of me going online and doing it. I'd call them personally.
Yeah.
And they just would not relent on the way they spoke about other pastors in such evil ways, you know. And I just saw some of the worst
Yeah.
in the church, sadly. And so, yeah, I mean, I think all of us lost people.
Mhm.
All of us lost energy. I mean, it did take, I mean, I'm so grateful I'd already started doing my emotional health journey
Whoa,
because
me
I have
too.
no idea what would have happened to me if I
Oh my
hadn't
gosh.
been done that
Oh.
already.
I also had like a 4-day trip right after our 5-year anniversary, and I had like a recovery moment and that the first 3 days of that, I could not function. I was depleted because right after Randy, other stuff happened in 2019, and I was like, if I didn't have that, and if I didn't start meeting with Abe and doing my work before, I don't know if I would have survived.
Oh man.
I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Well,
if I hadn't.
the number of hits that I mean, I don't want to say it's what was me. We all got it.
We all got it.
The number of hits, like hate mail from my members, like accusations of giving in to Satan. I mean, you name it. I'm like, guys, this is not what you think it is.
24-hour period of I'm leaving the church because you're too strict, and then you're a coward for not being strict enough.
I got both. Yeah, we got both.
Within a 24-hour period, and you're like, what do you do? How do you navigate this?
Yeah.
Like, I have sports certified doctors on my team. Like, they're like, what do we? I'm not this guy.
I know.
I'm trying to make disciples on mission here.
Oh, it was hard. Yeah, and anyway, it was tough, and it did. But I do think in God's providence, I'm thankful that a lot of our churches had already been doing, like the Strong Leader 2-year journey.
Yep.
Some of them then more with Tin Man. Like we actually went after our own emotional health at another level.
Yep.
And I saw other pastors, like, they're not around anymore.
Yep.
I mean, sadly, some aren't alive, but some just left the ministry. And I mean, everything's ministry. I believe that, but like they left the vocational calling that they had once been
equipping position to live on. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand it was really hard, but I don't think people were prepared for it, and in some ways, I don't know if we've still sat back and talked about. I mean, a lot of people have, but like I don't know if we've owned enough of what we did wrong yet. Because I still see it in the emerging expressions of Christian nationalism, and it's like it didn't go away. Yeah. It just got bigger voices and platforms, and it's being justified in ways that don't look like the kingdom, sadly. Yeah. And it helped churches grow, frankly, which is the part that I'm like, okay, Jesus, I got a lot of questions for you. So honestly, I mean, like, why do the unrighteous prosper? Why do people who do things in your name but don't look like you at all somehow get more favor? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I got a lot of questions about that. But it just doesn't feel like the kingdom, honestly. And that's maybe a whole other episode to talk about. Like, what does the kingdom look like, in a particular moment like we're in? Yeah. And I think we look a lot more like the kingdom of this world than we do the kingdom of God in a lot of ways that we've handled it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying I'm not without sin.
COVID expedited and exposed everything that was already there. Yeah.
I often would say COVID was like the X-ray and the MRI and the CT scan for the church.
It's all there, yeah.
Like, you want to see how sick we are?
Yeah.
We saw it.
Totally. And there's things within our family of churches to own that. Like, I mean, the unhealth in our own spots and the divisiveness and how much were we able to, we say we're gospel-centered. I mean, we had a chance to be centered on the gospel. How well did we do it?
That's right.
Like,
was Jesus our focus?
Yeah. And I mean, even like during this afternoon, like going back to the origin story and like hearing all about this energy around mission. And then you come to this conversation of COVID. It's like, wait a second, like, how did this come to this? And it makes sense as we tell the story. Yeah. But it's like in that moment, everybody was like so divisive. It was so
people justified hatred.
Absolutely.
They justified not loving their enemies, not praying for those who quote unquote don't agree with them. Or
the work of disciple making, which is what we've been all about, it had to shift during that season. And even as our own souls and pastors and like doing our own work, like people like, well, did you lose that heartbeat? It's like, no, this is still that. Yeah. Yeah. It's a more, I would say, a matured version. Yeah. But we haven't lost that.
No, it's still in us. We're still committed.
It's still there, committed to it. Yeah. And the opportunities are still in front of us to learn what it looks like to live that out in this moment. But it comes with a depth of soul.
But with that,
as we've been using the words, doing the work that I don't think we would have known of 15 years ago.
No. No, I wouldn't have had the fortitude to continue, honestly. So,
What do you mean?
on a personal level, I wasn't healthy enough to navigate it, nor were my convictions deep enough to be able to sustain it. And I don't think I had the maturity to walk through it 15 years ago in a way that would look like Jesus.
Yeah.
I would have raged like crazy.
Yeah.
So, and I think I would have lost so much of my integrity in the process. Thankfully, that's not true.
Yeah.
I can say that I didn't. But yeah, I think we're in a unique moment. I know we're going to do another podcast where we talk about what do we do.
Yeah, what's next is coming. Yeah,
and I'm eager to have that conversation because I have lots of thoughts about that.
Yeah.
And I'm still asking a lot of questions about it, frankly. One thing I think would be good to tell, and part of our story is, you know, I eventually left Doxa and largely to be released to go and serve Saturate full time. That became a decision, a moment where they wanted a pastor who only wanted to do local church.
Yeah.
And I knew I was called to more than the local church.
Yeah.
So we parted ways. And at the same time, Janie and I had these, but with that, friends that were not believers and said, we'll never go to a church. And very typical Seattle, you know. I'd say that's probably 80% of Seattle, honestly. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it's something like that. A lot of people won't go to
large
church
majority.
building. Yeah. And so we started meeting in our home, a little expression of the church, and that's a whole other story. But the end of the story is they have come to faith in Jesus. They sadly moved to Chicago, but they're going to start to do the same work there for their family that doesn't know Jesus. Or another couple left that's going to start another one in Covington. We're still leading a small expression of it in our own home. In a lot of ways, it feels like Soma 2.0 or something. Like we're getting back to the heart of what we've always been about, which is making disciples no matter what it takes, and being willing to do it in smallest form if needed. And we'll see where it goes. It can become a network of missional communities / micro churches, whatever you want to call them. That we still gather together. So we'll see where we're going to be. But I know that's influencing the family too, because a lot of us, like Chris signed us all up in Victoria, and others are like, let's not stop. Let's not lose the heart of making disciples who make disciples. Yeah. And we're not going to let this last season take us off chart. Yeah. Take us off course.
Well, and even the post initial COVID of the Soma family, of how that impacted and where we are today. Recapping even some of those moments that were pretty significant, like the San Diego retreat
with Jeff. Yeah, that one. Then later. Yeah, the one that where it really was bad.
Yeah, so most people don't know this, and I think
it felt like we weren't going to make it.
Yeah, so there was a moment.
Yeah,
and I remember this moment very well. That if this meeting was not handled with maturity and grace and love by everybody involved, we would not be sitting here right now.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, there was enough turmoil internally. There was enough frustration. There was enough questions.
It felt like a council of Soma.
Totally. We called it, there's a players only meeting of all the regional leaders, like, hey, we want to do it in grace. We love this. We want this. We desire this.
It was truth telling. I mean, some of what Paul said in our other earlier version of can we confront each other? Can we challenge each other? Can we be committed to a relationship no matter how hard it is?
Yep.
And we did it.
Yeah. And look, I call that the ground zero moment, because it could have gone multiple ways, but I'm super thankful for the Lord for it wasn't a Paul and Silas or John Mark moment. It was we're in this. We're
split up.
Sorry, thank you. Yep. We're in this, and that moment, and I'm going to give Paul a ton of credit, his presence as the executive director over stabilizing, and the visits that he's been making, has been a tremendous stabilizing
Absolutely.
effort.
Yeah, he is such a steady presence.
Yeah, he's not going to go, he's just going to go with it. Yep. And that's been so necessary the last couple of years, especially after all the turmoil. Yeah. And gotten us to a point of clarity and maturity, and worked towards getting us to the point where it doesn't, there's still financial questions. There's always. But Soma, in my perspective, as I sit here right now in 2026, is poised to build.
Yeah, I think the Soma family is as healthy as it's ever been,
Yeah.
honestly. Because I think we didn't realize what were the cracks.
Yep.
What were the fissures, what were the brokenness under the surface. We didn't know until it got revealed.
Yeah.
And I think getting through that meeting and weathering through the last few years.
Yep.
And being willing to truly be honest and straightforward with each other with hard stuff it's building a strong foundation for the future for sure.
And Paul's work, Amanda Peck's work, Pam's work.
Oh yeah.
Brad, who was on the SLT for a time, like
Ben Connolly.
Yeah, just the significance.
You're part of the team without a doubt.
So like that, and poising ourselves for like, okay, what's this next season look like? Which is the next episode is going to be about. Like, what do we? This is a moment. This is a story. Like, this isn't like a history book that's only in the past. It's a book that's still, like the way we use it locally, God's still writing our story. It's not done.
Yeah.
But as you sit here, spending a couple hours just telling this, what's sitting with you as you retell this whole story?
Well, it's a mixture, first of emotions. Like there's deep sadness that I have felt through the whole time that we've been here, but also gladness.
Yeah.
Here we are. We're still here. The work that God's done through such brokenness is unbelievable. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's to me, it's still a miracle that there's expressions of this all over the world. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's like awe.
Yeah.
That I have awe. And I think my convictions are deeper than they've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'm more committed to what we've been talking about the last several hours than I've ever been, and more willing to give everything for it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, hopeful that more and more people will get to experience a lot of what we got to experience.
Yeah.
Like I told Janie, I'm like, will we ever get to taste what we had there in Tacoma for those first, 10 years, I'd say. And I'm like, maybe not, but I still think there's more to taste.
For sure.
I think there's a lot more to come that we're going to get to be a part of. So I have a deep sense of hope that God's not, like you said, he's not done writing the story, and there's a lot more he still wants to do. So, and I have a lot of questions too.
For sure. Well, if I can say this, thank you. I mean, first of all, for your faithfulness to Jesus, like, even hearing the story again, like there's been risks all along the way. Like, at any point of you saying no, God would have had to use somebody else, but you said yes. So just to honor that.
Thanks, man.
It's not lost on me, your impact in my life, and showing up and dealing with us and working with us and us getting to be part of that, but helping frame the way in which we now are living. You've played a significant role in, and what we're calling other people too. So like all the stuff has had and is still having an impact. So I'm very grateful, eternally grateful. And I also know that there's a lot of really good ahead. I guess I'm an optimist, but there is some great
I believe
things.
there is. And I believe
Better than what was, but different.
Yeah.
How? I don't know, but I think it's going to be
People are
beautiful.
hungry for living this way.
Yeah.
If they have the Spirit of God, they want to walk in the way of Jesus. And I think this next generation, both Gen Y and Z, I guess is
whatever you call
Alpha,
them.
which ones they're called, I'm not sure.
Well, figure the
Gen Z, Alpha, and Y. We're starting over again at the beginning.
A new one is being birthed because they will not know anything without AI.
Right. Yes.
Like that's a new generation.
But I mean, when I interact with them, they're hungry.
Yeah.
And I think they're very dissatisfied with the consumerism.
Yeah.
And what feels like something less than what the kingdom of God is meant to be.
Yep.
That gives me a ton of hope because I think we get to pour into them and bless them.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's good to be with you.
You too.
Thanks for listening to this episode. This sensitive material can be quite difficult as it can remind you of your own story or of those loved ones around you. As a family of churches, we deeply desire for people to be whole, body, soul, and spirit. May you use this opportunity to pursue the help and the support that you and others need. Next time we're together, we're going to look at the post-COVID years and our future desires of what we hope God would do through us. Thanks for listening to the Soma podcast. Whether you're a member of one of our churches, a current church leader, or a friend from afar, we want to continue to connect. Please check out our website at wearesoma.com, where you can connect with a regional leader in your area and learn more about upcoming webinar or other equipping opportunities. If you've enjoyed this podcast, go onto your favorite streaming platform, subscribe, and leave us a review. We want to continue to provide you with tools and resources for you to be a disciple who can make disciples.